We've been we had the series going back, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, something like that. And I don't think we've ever before had a nonprofit organization. So it'll be a very unique how it's built in the Burg. So before we get started on that, I thought maybe you could share with us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about your biography and how you got to this point.
Yeah, like I said, my name is Mikell Simpson. I was born and raised in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I attended Harrisburg School District where I graduated. There I played basketball, football, and ran track. Won a state championship my freshman year in basketball. Was heavily recruited coming out of high school, assigned with the University of Virginia. Went there, played football. My major there was anthropology. Let me see. I have a daughter. She just turned 12 last Monday, this past Monday, excuse me. Yep. She is the life to me. She saved my life, and we'll kind of discuss that later. I have a beautiful fiance in the building, Madeline. Yeah, so that is me, and I am currently the executive assistant director at the neighborhood center down on 3rd and Kelker.
Okay, good. And what brought you back to Harrisburg after college?
An unforeseen diagnosis. So the reason I ended up back in Harrisburg was coming out of college, I signed with the Cincinnati Bengals. College physicals are about an hour long. NFLs was about 6. So during my physical out of Cincinnati, they discovered I had spinal stenosis and bone spurs, which my vertebrae are too close, and some of them were actually chipped. So the chances of being paralyzed were extremely high. So that same day I signed the NFL contract was the same day my career ended, and I was on a flight back home that same night. So during that time, I kind of went through, depression, suicidal thoughts, and the whole nine, and kind of got myself back together. But this is where I considered home and was most comfortable with.
Oh wow, that's quite a story. So, give us a time frame. So, when did you come back?
So this was 2010.
Okay.
Came back. This was, I want to say, April. We went out there to the mini camp the end of April after the draft. And then ever since then, I've been here trying to kind of rebuild Harrisburg.
Okay. Well, we're happy to have you back and for what you do. And especially I know that the neighborhood center does some really good work too.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So tell us about Capital Rebirth. Tell us how it started, how you got involved, the genesis of it.
All right, so Capital, we'll start with, of course, is Harrisburg being the capital of Pennsylvania. The rebirth comes from the birth of my daughter, rebirth in my life. So the rebirth actually stands for respect earned by intelligence, resilience, truth, and humanity. I started it solely because of my daughter. Like I said, she saved me during that time. I was trying to figure myself out, kind of escaping reality during that time, doing a lot of drinking, a lot of partying. And during that time, I kind of figured out, what I enjoy most besides football when I was playing. It was kids, because naturally I'm a role model as a football player. I had nieces and nephews who, if you look back, you'll see their initials wrote on my eye, wrote on my tape around my wrist. So kids was my savior. So I said, hey, I probably should have my own child. Wasn't ideal, but her birth, kind of, like I said, changed my life, saved my life. So with her being born, it kind of put me on a new path to kind of figuring out ways to make Harrisburg and this community that she'll be raised in a better community, and try to figure out ways to solve some of these issues. So that's kind of how Capital Rebirth got started.
Okay, and how old is she now?
She's just turned 12 Monday.
Oh, okay, great.
Yep, so when she was born, I started shortly after 2012, 2013. We did some alumni sporting events, and then I thought I was ready to, run a nonprofit, thought I was ready to make all these big moves, but in reality, I just wasn't mentally there. So I took a hiatus for about 4 or 5 years in 2018, kind of put it back out there and reassemble my team, and we haven't looked back since.
Yeah, I remember when Capital Rebirth kind of came on the scene. I think we wrote a couple of stories. You guys were, I think, immediately involved in some youth initiatives, correct? So why don't you tell us about the first things that you guys did?
Yeah, so the first thing we did with youth was our anti-bullying superhero day, which is kind of the core of our community events. I'm a big Batman fan. A lot of kids call me Batman. A lot of people call me Batman.
Can we call you Batman?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right,
that is a
Batman.
normal nickname for me here.
Right.
But no, so I started with superheroes. One, like I said, I like Batman. His whole thing is providing hope, and I felt like that's what this organization's goal was to do: provide hope to this community. I also knew that bullying was becoming a big issue online, not just in person, with our kids and their students. So I decided to use superheroes as the attraction to bring people to a festival where we would have on-site resources for parents or kids, to kind of get help with being bullied, whether it was, getting services or whether it was just kind of getting involved in an organization and being a part of whatever they have going on, just trying to make kids feel, a safe spot and welcomed at some point. So the festival started with the superheroes, and it came to the resource vendors, and also people love food, so we included food and different games and inflatables and stuff. So it became a big fun event, and that's probably our biggest event of the year.
Yeah, so was that on City Island, if I remember correctly?
Yes,
Okay.
we do on City Island. And I think the unique thing that we've implemented over the past years was we do a citywide motor parade. So we put our superheroes on the back of trucks. We have escorts through motorcycles and, fire department and whatnot. And we literally leave City Island, go to Shipoke, go to the south side, go to the Hill, up to Uptown, to Midtown, and then we funnel into the City Island. So even if, people have an issue with having transportation or just time constraints can't allow them to visit the actual community event, our superheroes are riding through the community so people still kind of feel a part of it and see what's going on.
Okay. And I guess just like everybody else, COVID put a little bit of a wrench in that. Or are you guys back doing that? What is the situation?
Yeah, so we haven't fell on good times lately. When we've scheduled or rescheduled, rain has just been our enemy the past 3 years, to be honest. Rain has kind of put a blemish on that event, but I think going 24, we've kind of figured a plan out to kind of have a backup plan with an indoor site and outdoor site on the same location. That way, if it is canceled, if it is raining, we can still host this event. Because like I said, this is our most impactful event. When we did have the 3 years, it was well over, about 1,000 people easily.
Yeah, I remember seeing a bunch of little kids downtown in capes and whatnot and costumes. It was fun.
And it was cool, when we did the motor parade. We'll ride through some neighborhoods and kids will literally be dressed in their superhero suits and kind of waving. So I thought that was very cool because, obviously they weren't, making it down to the festival, but they were able to still kind of engage and see what was going on.
Mm-hmm. And are you planning to do it for next year?
Absolutely. Like I said, 24, we have a site that is going to be neutral to rain, so we can move indoors on site. So hopefully, there's no other hiccups.
Okay.
We'll be good next year.
Yeah, and when is that?
That's going to be the end of September.
Okay.
Yep. So we'll definitely, keep people engaged. We'll definitely need a lot of volunteers. So we'll put it out there during that time. That is, like I said, a very big event, and we need a lot of hands on deck to make that event be successful.
Yeah. How do you pull that off? I mean, obviously that is a big event. It's not just you need other people. How do you organize that? How does it all come together?
I have a beautiful team.
Okay. Tell us about your team.
Yeah, so I have Madeline is my fiance. She's a part of my organization. We have Winton Williams, who is kind of the right-hand guy to me in my organization. We have Danielle Savage, who runs a lot of the marketing and promotional and the flyers that you see. We have Ursula, who does a lot of the reels and videos and digital things as well. We have Hanif, who kind of is involved with developing a lot of the sports events. When you see our Flag Football League, which has been a great success with generating over 180 kids each year, and it's co-ed. And then we have Stasia, who just returned, actually. She was coaching and pursuing her master's degree at Duquesne University, coaching women's basketball. And she's currently the basketball coach for the women at Central Penn. And she does a lot of the initiating for the outreach as far as getting our partnerships together. So like I said, I was blessed to assemble a great team in 2018, 2019. We have clicked, almost instantly. I think the best thing about our group is we all have the same vision. It's, helping, our community. We don't care what color you are, what race you are, what background you are. We just want to help.
Okay. So you mentioned flag football. So what else do you guys do besides the superhero event?
Yeah, so we do a flag football for our kids. Like I said, we've had over 180 participants each year. This is co-ed. We actually play up William Penn. We do our Coffee and Arts Festival, which we did this past summer at the Broad Street Market. We'll bring local coffee vendors all to one shop, one location, have some arts. We had a graffiti guy painting on scene this year. We also have done voter initiatives, registration. We've provided rides in the past for people who wanted to vote. We've done Stop the Violence and Drug Abuse Talent Fest for years at Reservoir Park, where it's kind of using entertainment to bring people out to have on-site resources available. What else? We've done alumni basketball and flag football tournaments where we had 8 local schools participating, which was McDevitt, which was Harrisburg, Susquehanna, Central Dauphin East. We even had Lancaster and York participate as well. So we're looking to grow those things. Like I said, adults need things to do as well as kids. So I know during our first wave of our alumni flag football, I just remember sitting back and reading so many posts online of guys going to the gym and working out. And it's like, I haven't seen you or heard of you working out since high school, but it was motivation, for people to kind of take care of themselves and get back in tune with their body. So I think that was a great thing. So that's pretty much what we have dabbled in over the past couple years. And we've also run different workshops as far as financial literacy, home ownership. We've done self-defense classes as well.
Wow, that's a lot. Okay. So during these conversations that we have with how it's built in the Burg, we often talk a lot about money because most of the people I've interviewed are small businesses, and we talk about how they raised capital and how they make money, how they engage with their customers. Well, obviously, you also, it's okay. You also have to worry about money, even though you're, a nonprofit. You still have to raise money. It makes the world go around, right? So how do you go about doing that?
So we try to reach out to businesses to try to get them to sponsor certain events. To be honest, we haven't kind of explored the grant opportunity, which we're looking to get heavily involved this year moving forward. And a lot of it has just come from our fees for registration, whether it's for our flag football, whether it's our alumni sporting events. So we kind of refunnel that money into things, and we also make sure that we buy the equipment, so we're not renting a lot and a lot of overhead charges. So our equipment we try to purchase as often as we can, so we have those things on site to be able to use.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Because these events that you put on, they cost money, so obviously you need to raise it. And I know that well because at the Burg, we give away most of our products, but we still need to raise money to support it. So it's important to have whatever kind of money raising mechanism that you can have.
Oh, absolutely. Without funding, you just have an idea. Right. At the end of the day, as bad as it sounds, but if you don't have any funding, then you can't start to even rent a venue to host anything, or you can't provide the different things that may come with logistic wise with that event that you may be trying to put together. So yes, funding is very important. And just like I said, fortunately, we've been able to raise enough money through registration that can been able to pay for our flags and apparel and everything. And another thing that we do to try to cut down cost is I do everything in-house. So I have a heat presser, we order transfers, we order our shirts. So every shirt that you see has probably been pressed by me. So like I said, we try to eliminate the middleman in that process because we know shirts can get costly and they're a lot cheaper, if you're able to do them yourself.
So you guys are involved in quite a few things. I mean, what would you say overall is like the mission of Capital Rebirth?
It's to unify and uplift Central Pennsylvania through various programmings and events. So that's why we don't necessarily have a true lane. We just try to provide solutions for areas that arise. So our main 3 focus basically is education, health and wellness, and entertainment, and that can go, various ways.
Okay. And do you have any new initiatives up your sleeve? Anything that you can share, like head in any kind of new directions?
Not new directions. I think we're just going to tighten up on some things moving 24. One new thing that we are trying to initiate is a Capital Rebirth Stars team that can kind of work co-hand with the existing members, so we don't have as much, on our plate, and also that will allow us to do more and be engaged more in different other organizations' events, because we all have a life of our own. Some of us has kids and different things, so it's hard, time-wise, to make sure that we have this to be able to attend other events and run things that we want to run. Because, like I said, there are other events that we definitely want to get involved with and pursue, but we just don't have the hands right now. So that is something we're trying to look to develop in 2024 as a Rebirth Stars team.
So most of your organization, I assume, is volunteers, correct?
Yes, for sure.
So how are you able to sort of recruit those volunteers and to make sure that they, do what they say they're going to do and they show up? Because sometimes when you don't pay people, you don't quite know what's going to happen.
The beautiful thing about that is I didn't have to recruit. They reached out to me and they were engaged. So I think that's a different level of interest when someone is reaching out to you, as opposed to you saying, hey, can you be a part of this? Like I said, 2018, I wanted to get things back up and running. I knew I needed a team. I made a generalized post about the first event that I was going to do that was going to kick back off the relaunching of Capital Rebirth, which is we did down Stilton alumni basketball game. Went hit me up almost immediately. Stasia contacted me immediately after that. We met at Starbucks. And then actually Madeline was introduced to the team. She had a blog series that she was doing, and she seen the things that we were doing and interviewed. And I'm like, hey, we need somebody in this communications department. Do you mind? And she was sold. That's probably the only person that I honestly recruited.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. So besides the Superhero Day and a couple of other things that you've been involved with that we've written about, that I know about, another thing that I know that Capital Rebirth has been involved with has been the maybe rebirth potentially of the William Penn School.
Yes.
I know that you guys put in a bid to try to purchase that, and the school district didn't bite on that or any of the other bids that they had, and they had about half a dozen or so, and they didn't take any of them. And so now we're in another phase of the process. But can you share with us a little bit why you're interested in the William Penn High School, what you would like to do with it, and what your vision is?
The number one reason is the accessibility that it has. William Penn is very unique. It's 26 acres. The bus system, the city buses, split 6th Street. Well, they go on 6th Street and 3rd Street, which splits William Penn property. So whatever you bring there, the entire City of Harrisburg residents will have access to this location. With me knowing that, I know transportation is a big issue for a lot of residents, right? So I got to thinking, what can I possibly do to bring to this campus to to solve a lot of these issues in Harrisburg, right? So that's when we get back to the core of education, health and wellness, and entertainment. So it's a combination of all three of these at this site. The main one would be a vocational training center where our adults will have access to about 3 p.m. where they can come get their certifications in electric and drywalling and plumbing and get their GEDs and whatnot, because a lot of our community members can't obtain these good jobs because of lack of education or running with the law. But now this kind of career path can kind of change their trajectory, which will change their family tree. So that's the Vocational Center. And then in the evening, it will be allowed for the students and youth to come in and utilize these same classrooms, because our career path classrooms will be in this building as well. And these will be set up ideal to how career paths look. So, if you're into the stock exchange, the room will look exactly like the stock exchange. If you're into, you want to be a judge or you want to be a lawyer, a courtroom will be kind of set up in that area. If you want to be, in hair salon, there will be a hair salon. So the classrooms will mock and mirror what exactly will go on in that career path. That way our younger kids are getting exposure to these different career paths that they wouldn't elsewhere have. It also allows a unique opportunity for many different organizations and individuals and businesses to run after-school programming, summer programming, utilizing these different classrooms and space. Just to give me an example, right? I went to be a marine biologist growing up. I love sharks, still to this day. Growing up, but there was nowhere in sight for me to get any type of education or exposure to this career path. So ultimately, it died, right? That happens with a lot of our kids around here. They want to pursue things until they're about 4th or 5th grade, and they realize, hey, what I want to pursue, it's not available. But if I play sports, I make music, or I sell drugs, there's a lot of openings, right? So I want to kind of provide a solution for these kids and an outlet for these kids so they don't end up going down these paths that are not necessarily the best paths to take. Another thing on site would be a medical facility. So you don't always have to go to Harrisburg Hospital for, whatever the cost may be. Another major thing is having a resource center. So, instead of having to drive to one location for help for mental health and then have to drive to another location for housing, another location for employment, all of these will be centralized on this campus. We want to have an indoor sports complex, which doesn't exist in this area, with 2 floors, which we will have a football, soccer field on the 2nd floor with basketball courts and volleyball courts and tennis and a weight room kind of on that 1st floor. That way, our kids that are interested in sports or just want to have something to do to exercise, HYP, during the winter, we can have a home to operate because, like I said, we have messy weather sometimes. So I think a sports center is definitely going to be great. Even if you just look at, what's happening down the road in Lancaster with Spooky Nook. They have Lancaster's economy booming. So if we could just mirror, a fraction of that, I think it would be very impactful to our community. Also, we want to have restaurants and retail because that is kind of a dead zone area for that. And if you're going to have all these employees and traffic coming up, I think it's very smart to have that. Another benefit is Harrisburg School District. They have very few pre-K classrooms, so we want to provide a child care center on site, hopefully in a partnership with the school district. That way they can start to have our kids coming into 1st grade prepared because that is a big hurdle and setback for our kids coming in to the district. They're already, light years behind. And that provides also child care for employees that are going to be working throughout the campus. They can go see their kid, throughout the day. So that's kind of what it's going to consist of. It's a lot of moving parts to it. This would definitely be built in phases. So fingers crossed we are, selected to be the ones to develop that site.
Okay, so this includes the main school building, which is already, 250,000 square feet or something like that, plus additional buildings on the property.
Yes. So ideally, our project is going to take up 12.9 acres, and it's going to be 13.1 acres of green space and parking potentially.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, the district has been just zig-zagging on what they want to do with this building. So, as I mentioned before, they'd put it up for sale, and they had received a whole bunch of proposals.
So it was only 4.
Oh, there were 4, not 6. There were
yes.
4. Okay.
Yep, 4.
Well, anyway, they rejected all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Then the receiver said that she was going to probably tear down the building. In fact, that she was about to do that, and she got pushback from the community, and so now she's appointed this task force. Are you on the task force?
No, I cannot be.
Okay. Oh, yeah, because you're interested in the property. Okay. But anyway, she's appointed this task force to at least have recommendations over what to do. So how do you feel about that process, and how do you feel about the task force and the situation where we're at right now?
I think it was very important to start a task force. The last thing you need, especially in Harrisburg with a site that has 26 acres and has the history that William Penn has, is to make a decision without the community. Like I said, even our plans for William Penn was not driven by me. It was driven by what the community wants and needs have been, over the past decade. So I think it's very important that they created a task force. We actually did our presentation about a week and a half ago to the task force at the district during the board meeting. It's 29 of them. They're various people.
There are a lot of people on that task force.
From various different backgrounds. So it was very unique to kind of see all these people in one room and have an opinion on what they think William Penn should look like. But the beautiful thing of it is this is my baby. So I was very confident presenting. I think we won a lot of them over, and the main thing was a lot of the ideas that was presented before us and after us as potential developers, and the task force committees, their wants. We tackled all of them because we're welcoming partnerships, and all they pretty much offered was programming. So like I said, our classrooms and, Votech Training Center, it can change, over a 5-year, 10-year, whatever, the economy is kind of asking for at that time. So whatever programming that the task force came up, which was, I believe, 9, we can welcome them. The firehouse department proposed an idea to kind of have firefighters being trained up there. We have enough space in, a building to kind of accommodate that partnership and welcome it as well. There was also a presenter after us that presented housing in a medical facility, and that's another thing I forgot. We are looking to put housing on the Division Street side of the campus, with the first one being senior living, second being at market rate, and then the third being affordable. So the presenters after us, they wanted to do a medical facility in housing, so we spoke to them afterwards. That's another opportunity for partnerships. So hopefully, they're going to make their decision. They have another presenter next week, I believe. They're going to meet twice in January and kind of make their decision on what, they kind of are looking to see.
Yeah, did you get any feel as far as what they may want? All that I can really discern at this point is that most of the people there do not want the building to be torn down, and they want it, I guess, to be restored. But other than that, I'm not quite really sure where they might be leaning.
Everybody wants to see Votech, and they want to see Harrisburg School District run the Votech. But very few know or understand that it is almost impossible for the school district to run their own Votech at this current time. They're locked in a contract with DC Tech with a $5 million overhead tag that they can't get out of, right? So how can they do that? They now currently have 98 vacancies in employment. They're opening a new school, elementary school, next year, Steele School, which is going to need another at least 70 to 80. So now you're almost at, 180 vacancies throughout your district. So how can you now run a Votech? And also, you cannot borrow money until 2035. You also have $110 million set aside to renovate the existing buildings over the next 10 years. So Harrisburg is financially strapped. They are staff strapped. So that's why we're trying to work this where the adults can use this space during the day and the kids can come in at night. And ultimately, the adults are the key figures in this process, because if the adults are not stable, then the kids are not stable, right? So if we can provide these same opportunities to our adults, and like I said, they can get their GEDs, they can get certifications in electric, drywalling, plumbing, whatever construction, and we want to partner with construction companies locally where they can come in and hire these people immediately. Now they have financial stability in their home. So now when you take these kids and put them in these different programmings and expose them to different things and have them around these positive mentors, it all makes sense to that kid, because when he goes at home, it's not, hey, I'm back in survival mode. Our food, is not on the table, our electric out, I got to go take a shower at my cousin's house. Like, they don't have those issues at this point no more.
Mm-hmm. So this would require, as you mentioned before, quite a lot of building construction. I mean, how do you feel about being a developer? Because I think that's probably what you would.
Yeah, I'm excited because this is something that I've worked on for about 8-9 years. I really wholeheartedly think if all these faces are, approved through the zoning and codes, I think Harrisburg City will see a very dramatic turn fairly quick, because we're not a big city. We have 50,000. So if something like this comes where every resident in the entire city have access to take advantage of these opportunities, I think you'll start to see a lot of change in dynamics. Also, it will definitely benefit the school district, which I think, too, is the most important thing. If you want to have a growing city and stable city, your school district better be stable too, right? Most don't know in 1950-ish, Harrisburg had a population of 90,000. Well, that's because William Penn and John Harris were thriving schools. So now at this point, we have one high school, and we've been in receivership 3 times out the past 10, 15 years. School district very unstable, mismanaging funds. So we need to get our school district and our kids on the right path. And I think, these summer programmings and these after-school programmings and getting these kids around different career paths early would change the trajectory and the mode of these students in the classroom.
Okay. Well, best of luck. I mean, is there anything else about William Penn specifically you want to address?
No,
I think
it's in God's hands at this point. We've done our part. We presented. We checked all our boxes. Like I said, this was built for the community, not by me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Speaking of the community, so over the years, we've written stories on many different nonprofit organizations, and some of them have seemed to have more longevity, I guess, than others. There's a lot of people in this town who want to do good and who want to do good things, want to help kids, et cetera. You guys seem to have had more success than others, maybe some others. What do you attribute that to? What is the kind of secret sauce, do you think, in being able to have a functioning and successful nonprofit in Harrisburg?
I don't know if it's a secret sauce. To me, I think it's just being consistent. I think that's rule applies to anything you do in life, whether it's work, whether it's a relationship with your friends, whether it's a relationship with your kids. If you're consistent and you're true to who you are, I think that kind of carries you through those tough times, or kind of just gives you that extra spring to keep going. Like I said, I have a great team that makes it a lot easier to keep going. And then also I know I have a 10 to 15 year vision. So there's no insight to me, and I actually, I get a high off of helping people and kind of hoping to be one of the key figures to changing the dynamics of this city, because I know it's filled with potential, and we just haven't, for some reason, tapped into it yet.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts over why that might be?
There's a lot. Like I said, the main thing is our school district. Until we can get a stable school district, our city is going to continue to be unstable. And we also need to have a better relationship with our school district and our city officials and mayor. I think those two need to understand that they need to coexist together. And there hasn't been much of that relationship over the past few years. So hopefully that can change. Like I said, I am just hopeful that this community is going to continue to blossom. I work with a lot of these kids in the city that are labeled, a lot of negative things. I will say, if you get to know these kids, they are normal kids. They are great. They are passionate. They just have a lot of different obstacles that most of us don't have to kind of overcome. Last year, I was on a panel for a scholarship to Eric LeGrone, and I met a young man, and his story blew me away. He maintained a 2 or 3 GPA for his 4 years in high school. He went to SciTech, which was our blue ribbon school. During that 4 years, his parents were not able to work from disabilities. He had a full-time job, and he had to take care of 2 younger siblings. He paid all the bills in the house, and now he's at Penn State University, doing wonderful. But that story isn't told. We continue to tell sports stories. You know what I mean? So if we start to highlight some of the good that is done in our community through our school district and through our city, I think kids will think that's kind of cool now, because who doesn't like to be in today's social media posted and shared and, praised for what you're doing? But if you're not, like I said, it's just, all they care about is sports. All the city cares about is sports. But less than 1% of these people are going to make it professionally in sports. After retirement, 2 years, 74% go broke. And just look at me. I was fortunate enough to make it, but I didn't even get to play it down. I made no money. So even if you are lucky enough to make it, you have to have something to fall back on. So I think if we continue to highlight our kids in this city that are doing the great things, we would definitely get a lot more on board to support these kids, because all they need is support.
So looking at the future of Harrisburg, a couple of years down the line, how do you feel? Do you feel optimistic or pessimistic or a mixture? What's your feeling?
I'm very optimistic, because I see the changes. I've lived in Harrisburg the majority of my life, besides my 4 years at University of Virginia. I'm very in tune to the community. I'm very in tune to development and progress within the city and where the developments are happening and kind of figuring out why they're happening there. I think Harrisburg should be the staple of Pennsylvania, just as the capital. It draws that attention. The money and decision key makers are all in Harrisburg. There are a lot of things in Harrisburg that people just don't know about. I see people on Facebook, complaining Harrisburg is dead. There's nothing to do. But I just look around. It's like sometimes we got to grow out of our things that we're kind of accustomed to, hanging out on the corner, or just sitting around talking and drinking. Like, let's explore life. Let's kind of open our eyes up and kind of explore different things. So I like what's happening in the city. I think it's only going to get more diverse, which I think is a great thing for our community. Like I said, fingers crossed, our project is moving in the next 5 years, and that's going to be a big savior to a lot of people. And I know a lot of people are doing a lot of good things in Harrisburg. More people are being active as far as speaking out on different things. Like I said, even this, the William Penn situation, not to speak on it long again, but people came out by the hundreds and spoke by the hundreds. That's why that decision was kind of slowed up. So hopefully our community is starting to realize, hey, we have a voice. If we speak up, we have a chance. And I tell people all the time, I try to, with my community, I try to give them examples right in their face. So Chick-fil-A wanted to build, right across the, in Camp Hill, right on Market Street, I believe it was. Residents said, hey, this is going to be an issue, too much traffic, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they came out to these meetings, and guess what? Chick-fil-A was never developed. So, I try to tell people that in our community is we have to be active and understand your voice actually matters. So big issue on 6th Street. A couple years ago, the marijuana dispensary was built on 6th Street, where I personally know a lot of people who have been arrested on that same corner for selling that same substance, right? So our people are, and it's also the main pathway for our kids to walk to Camp Curtin Middle School. So our kids are walking by this every morning. But you see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of posts and comments on Facebook about why I shouldn't be here. But when it was time to step up and go to these zoning meetings, there was nobody. So hopefully, like I said, over the next few years, our community continues to understand the importance that we have power when we come out in numbers and our voice actually matters.
I've seen that so often, I can't even tell you. In the time that I've been here and have been covering the city, and people, they complain on Facebook or they just mouth off or what have you. And then the issue, whatever the issue is, comes up before the planning commission, city council, the school board, or whatever, and it's crickets. And I'm like, where are these people? There are hundreds of comments about everybody mouthing off about whatever project or plan or proposal there was. And then when the rubber hits the road, nobody actually shows up to tell the people who matter, who are voting on it, how they feel about it. But every once in a while they do. And in the case of the school district, they did. And that's the whole reason why that building is still standing today. Absolutely. And why the task force has been formed.
Absolutely. So, like I said, that was just another example, more recent, something that has a lot of tension on it, where people can actually see, this actually mattered that we showed up. Like, we stopped a demolition of a building that, if they didn't show up, the building wouldn't be existing at this current moment. It was set to be demoed in, I think it was end of September.
August, I think, yeah.
Yep. So it would have been down, but
Yeah.
it's still, standing. So that's just another example, like I said.
Yeah, well, great. I think we will wrap up the evening. Thank you, Mikell, for a great conversation. It was a good hour spent, for sure.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate the opportunity. Like I said, anytime that I get to tell this story, it's a good feeling for me. It's also another stepping stone for me to keep continuing to kind of follow my mission. It gives me that courage and confidence to keep going. Because like I said, I don't care what you do, you're going to have some dark days, you're going to have some down days where you're kind of questioning, am I really doing this? Why am I really, putting this much effort into it? Especially when, none of my organization members have ever made a penny. You know what I mean? So this is free, this is volunteer, we have different things going on. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you very much.